Hello everyone, and today we are going to be doing a deck tech for Ashcoat of the Shadow Swarm. Ashcoat is a rat warlock. He's a 3/4, and whenever he attacks or blocks, other rats you control get +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of rats you control. And then at the beginning of your end step, you may mill 4 cards. If you do, return up to 2 rat creature cards from your graveyard to your hand. So it's just going to be a little bit of Ashcoat rat tribal. How to win: 70 rat colonies, 30 swamps. Thanks for watching, guys. Remember to like, subscribe, comment what you want me to do next. But no, you can build it this way, but don't. Seriously, your game plan. This deck needs Ashcoat to win. We're going to play as many rats as possible. We're going to swing with them to make our rats big. We're going to block with them to make our rats basically too big for people to want to swing into us. Our end step, we're going to mill some cards. We're going to get some rats back to our hand, and we're going to continue the process. It's kind of like drawing more cards, and that's how we're going to continue. Disclaimer: rats are weird, right? So there's not many great rats in Commander that kind of do different things. Like they're going to discard, they're going to ninjutsu, they're going to do a ton of other random stuff. So we have some other random mono black stuff in the deck to help it run more smoothly. Planeswalkers. Liliana of the Dark Realm. We're running her for 2 reasons. Well, I guess all the reasons. 4 mana, she basically is going to get us a swamp to our hand. It's basically so we don't miss land drops, which is nice. But we can also just use her to just minus her and then kill something, just because her -X/-X equal number of swamps. We get a lot of swamps. We're mono black, so it's usually a kill spell 4 mana worst case. And then if we can ult with her somehow, making our swamps tap for 4 instead of 1 is really, really good. But I'm mainly using her because I like the idea of getting a swamp every turn or killing a creature whenever we want. Creatures. Adaptive Automaton, we say rat. Other rats get +1/+1. Ayara. Not a rat, but whenever her or another black creature enter the battlefield under your control, each opponent loses 1 life and we gain 1 life. Plus, we can sacrifice another black creature to draw a card. So when we make rat tokens, we can sack them to draw, and just get incremental, incidental, like, draining for our opponents, because it's each opponent, not just like a target. So she's just real good. Burglar rat. He's a rat. When he comes in, each opponent discards a card. These are the kind of rats that we're going to be looking at today, mostly. Changing Outcast, not a rat, but is a rat, but is really, really good. So, because it's going to be super big when Ashcoat attacks, it's going to be unblockable, and we do have a lot of ninjutsu effects in this deck. I'm like Mario. In this deck. So, being like, we can just, like, that's our great ninjutsu target, and we can just replay it for 1 anyways. Chittering Witch, not a rat, but she makes rats equal to our opponents, so I kind of view all the decks as a pod of 4, so we're going to get 3 rats for 4 mana and a 2/2, and then we can just sacrifice a creature for 2 mana, and then basically give -2/-2 to another creature. Crypt Rats, weird card, 3 mana 1/1, pay X into it, deals X damage to each creature and player, and we can only spend black mana. I kind of look at this as like a nuke, in a way. It's like a weird rat nuke, but we can just dump mana into. Defiler of Flesh, not a rat, but it's kind of that mono black value I'm talking about earlier. I like this, the whole cycle of these, like mainly in monocolor decks, just because it's a 4/4 for 4th menace, great rate. And then as an additional cost to cast black permanents, we can pay 2 life. Basically, it makes one of our mana pips Phyrexian, so it's basically a cost reducer. And then whenever we cast a black permanent spell, we can give a creature menace, which is nice because we can give Ashcoat menace with this, because we kind of need him to stick around and we need him to attack, so we don't want people getting like favorable blocks on him. Gnawing Vermin, 1 mana 1/1, when it enters, target player mills 2, probably us because we don't mind having stuff in our grave. When it dies, creatures you don't control get -1/-1 till end of turn. This is kind of our answer for like token decks. That's really it. It's just like a big -1/-1 across the board to our opponents to kill other little stuff. Graveshifter, that's a rat. When he enters the battlefield, return target creature card from our graveyard to our hand. Again, we have a lot of rats. We're rat tribal by definition. But we also have a lot of not rats, like that Phyrexian horror over there, so we can get them back to our hand that Ashcoat won't be able to get with Graveshifter. Grey Merchant of Asphodel. He's not even a rat, not even a little bit, but he is a mono black win con because when he enters the battlefield, he's going to drain X to each opponent, where X is our devotion to black, and since we're mono black, that's most likely a lot. Ink Guys, Oni, is a rat. He has Ninjutsu and he deals combat damage to a player. You may put target creature card from that player's graveyard into play under our control, which is nice. He's just a fun little reanimation we can cheese into our opponents. And he's also a, 5/4 with Regenerate, so he's hard to get rid of. Then we have Locust Miser. Rats, like I said earlier, are weird, so each opponent's maximum hand size is reduced to 2. I kind of like the idea of forcing our opponents to discard this way, just by making their max hand size 5 instead of 7. So, I don't know, it's a little bit of hand manipulation. I think he's a weird card, but since he's a rat, he's in the deck. Marinar, arguably the best rat in Magic. He probably is like the one rat that you do put as a rat tribal over Ashcoat. All rats have fear. Already great. Then tap him, sacrifice a rat, make X 1/1 black rat creature tokens, where X is the number of rats you control. He's kind of like Krenko, but for rats. Metallic Mimic is kind of a rat, and it makes our rats enter with 1/1 counters. Nashi Moonsage's Scion. Weird lore, it's actually Tamio's son. I don't know how that happened, but it is. Just kidding, I'm pretty sure he's adopted in the lore. Doesn't matter, not the point. 3 mana, 3/2 with Ninjutsu. When he does combat damage to a player, exile the top card of each player's library. Until end of turn, you may play one of those cards. And that's really it, we can just cast those cards. So it's kind of we get value from our opponent's decks. Nezumi Blade Blesser has Death Touch if we have an artifact, has Menace if we have an enchantment, so that's potentially a 3 mana, 3/2 Death Touch Menace. Pretty cool. Nezumi Grave Robber. 2 mana, remove target card if an opponent's graveyard. Remove target card in an opponent's graveyard from the game. If no cards are in that graveyard, flip Nezumi Grave Robber. And then he just says pay 5 mana, put target creature card in a graveyard into play under your control. So it's a 5 mana reanimate on a legendary 4/2. The cool thing about him is we can play him on turn 2, and then if no one has a card in their grave on turn 2, which most likely they won't in Commander, unless they're doing fetch lands or whatever, we just get a 4/2 on turn 2 that lets us reanimate for 5. Kind of cool. Nezumi Prowler, another fun ninjutsu stuff. When he enters the battlefield, target creature you control gains Death Touch and Lifelink. So since we're doing these big blocks and all that, and big attacks, I guess not big blocks, but since we're doing all these big attacks, because of Ashcoat, we can just ninjutsu him into an unblocked thing, and then just whichever creature that we don't like is blocking ours, we can kill it, or we can just gain a ton of life. Ogre Slumlord, not a rat, but he's a rat lord, so whenever another non-token creature dies, we make a 1/1 rat. Notice, not another non-token creature you control, just whenever a non-token creature dies, we get a rat, and then rats have Death Touch. Okiba Gang Shinobi, 5 mana, 3/2 with Ninjutsu 4. Whenever Obi Gang Shinobi deals combat damage to a player, they discard 2 cards. Another one of those like weird, kind of like 2-for-1 rat effects where it's Ninjutsu and discarding. I think it's nice making sure that our opponents have weird hand options. Ossuary Rats, hopefully I pronounced that right. 6 mana, 3/2, terrible rate, but when he enters the battlefield, it deals X damage to target creature or planeswalker and opponent controls, where X is the number of creature cards in our graveyard. And when we're milling 4 every turn, that's a lot of creature cards in our grave. Pack Rat, what a famous rat. It is a 2 mana XX Pack Rat's power and toughness are equal number of rats you control. Then we can pay 3, discard a card, and then put a token onto the battlefield that's a copy of Pack Rat. So it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and then we can also make, like other guys that get bigger and bigger and bigger. Patron of the Nezumi, a funny little rat spirit. He has a rat offering, which is weird enough. Basically, rat offering, you can play it as an instant by sacking a rat and then paying the difference in mana costs. So that's really it, and you can play at an instant speed. So if you have like a 3, let's say Pack Rat's on the field, for example, we can sacrifice Pack Rat and then just pay 5 mana, because that's, 7 minus 2, 5. Then we get this 6/6 into play, and he says whenever a permanent is put into an opponent's graveyard, the player loses a life. I think he's funny. He's kind of a cool combat trick if we just like want to sacrifice like a rat if it's going to die anyways. Or we can get a cool block in, someone attacks, Patron of the Nezumi, 6/6, here it is. He's there. And then he just drains life. Pestilence Rat, not really going to go through all that, but he's basically an X3, where X is the total number of rats on all players' boards. So he's just like Super Pack Rat, kind of. Piper of the Swarm, again, not a rat, but rats have menace. We can also make rat tokens, and then we can get rid of 3 rats to gain control of a creature. So kind of a little fun, like, give me your stuff by sacrificing rats. Then we have Rat Catcher, not a rat, but he has Fear, and at the beginning of our upkeep, we may search our library for a rat card and then put it into our hand. So, again, pretty cool tutor, because he has Fear. A lot of fear with rats, I guess. Species Specialist, again, not a rat, but we say rat when he enters, and then whenever a rat dies, we draw a card. And that's probably going to happen pretty frequently because we make a lot of rat tokens. Swarm of Rats, that's a rat. It's an XX rat where it's basically a pack rat. It's worse pack rat, basically. Throat Slitter, 5 mana 2/2 with Ninjutsu 3. When he does combat damage to a player, destroy target non-black creature that player controls. It's basically just Doomblade when it connects. Again, Ninjutsu. It's just a funny effect. And then we have Wave of Rats. Trample 4/2. Whenever a Wave of Rats dies, if it dealt combat damage to a player this turn, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control, and then we can blitz it for 5. Since it's a 4/2, it's fine. Blitzing Wave of Rats is kind of nice just because, like, we'll still, like, get the stuff. Because, like, who's not going to block? It's like a 4/2 with Trample, so it's probably going to be blocked by, like, something, or I don't know. Blitz is good. It'll go back to our hand. Worst case, it just goes to our grave. Again, it's just like a big recurring rat. No more creatures. Sorceries. Crippling Fear. Choose a creature type. It's rat. Rats, things that aren't rats get -3/-3 until end of turn. Feed the Swarm. Destroy target creature or enchantment an opponent controls. You lose life equal to the permanent's converted mana cost. It's fine for creature removal, but mono black at least, can't really kill enchantments, and this is our way to kill enchantments. Haunting Voyage. You say rat. Return 2 creature cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. Or if it's Foretold, return all rats from the graveyard to the battlefield. Kind of fun card. A little fun, like Reanimate. Kindred Dominance. You say rat. Destroy all non-rats. Easy. Mutilate. All creatures get -1/-1 until end of turn for each swamp you control. We're in mono black. We're going to have a lot of swamps. There's actually like 26 in the deck or so, but that's a spoiler for later in the video. Patriarch's Bidding. Very sus to play against tribal decks with it, but each player chooses a creature type. We say rat. Each player returns all creature cards of that type from their graveyard to the battlefield. So it's kind of annoying, right? Because it makes our opponent at least get the best creature in their graveyard back to the field. Like if they're just like, oh, I got a really good ooze in my field, and I have like a ton of vampires, I'll just say ooze, or I don't know, doesn't matter. They get their best thing back. But we do get all of our rats back. So ideally, getting all of our rats back is better than them getting just like the one thing. And then finally, Plague of Vermin. Very cool card. 7 mana. Starting with you, each player may pay any amount of life. Repeat this process until no one pays life. Each player puts a 1/1 black rat creature token into play for each 1 life he or she paid. The funny thing is I put Ayara right there because whenever a black creature enters, each opponent loses 1 life and we gain a life. So the funny thing is we have Ayara on the field. It's basically like an infinite kill, not a kill, but you know, like it deals like a fuckload of damage. We'll say like 30. We get 30 rats because I don't know who's going to want to pay more than 30 life for 30 rats. But everyone gets 30 rats. Ayara comes in. We gain 30 life back. So nothing really happened. And then each opponent loses 30. So we really just want to say how much we can. Worst case, Ayara dies. We still get a ton of rats. And then we attack with Ashcoat and see what happens. Instance. Dark Ritual. We need Ashcoat on the field. Just like straight up, we need Ashcoat. So Dark Ritual, getting him there turn 2 is good. Or if he gets killed, it basically says you don't pay commander tax on something. Deadly Dispute, sacrifice an artifact or creature. It's probably a rat token. Then we draw 2 cards and get a treasure. So it's essentially only 1 mana and we get 2 cards. Defile, it's basically Mutilate's younger brother. That's really it. And then Infernal Grasp is just kill a creature and we lose 2 life. Arcane Signet. It's just a rock. That's it. Bolus the Citadel, 6 mana. Look at the top card of our deck. We can play lands and cast spells from the top card of our library. If we cast a spell, we lose life equal to its mana cost. That sucks. Whatever. Tap, sacrifice 10 non-land permanents. Each opponent loses 10 life. So again, it's just like an engine. We can play cards from the top of our deck. That's really all it's there for. And then if someone's low, we can just sacrifice 10 rats or whatever, and then everyone loses 10. So it could just be an easy kill. Bantu's Monument. Whenever we cast a black creature, black creatures cost 1 less to cast, and then whenever you cast a creature, each opponent loses 1 life when we gain 1. So it's good, creature reduction because we're a creature-heavy deck, and then it's just drain, which is also nice. Crucible of Worlds, really weird to see this, but since Ashcoat does mill 4 every turn, we're going to be able to be playing lands from our graveyard. Door of Destinies, we say rat. Whenever we cast a rat spell, put a counter on it. Rats get +1/+1 for each charge counter on it. So basically, it just makes our rats bigger and bigger. It's like just like a big, rats get +5/+5 like late game. It's really cool. Elixir of Immortality, 1 mana. Pay 2, tap it, sack it, gain 5 life, shuffle it, and graveyard back into our library. It's basically if our graveyard gets like a little too big and our deck is looking a little too thin, because milling 4 is pretty decent, right? Like, what? I guess that's like a 20 turn clock in Commander. Not even. I know it sounds like a lot, but you play, you draw. It goes through a lot. So if our grave gets too big, we can shuffle it back in and try again. Herald's Horn, rats cost 1 less at Big Nerf Keep. Reveal the top card of our deck, or look at the top card of a deck. If it's a rat, reveal it, put it in our hand, and then we just draw a card for turn. Heraldic Banner, we say black creatures get +1/+0, and it taps for a mana, which is very nice. Icon of Ancestry, rats get +1/+1, pay 3 mana, look at the top 3 cards of our deck, we can reveal a rat and put it in our hand, rest on the bottom. Jet Medallion, just straight up makes our black spells cost 1 less. Thanks Post Malone, very cool. Lightning Greaves, we're just going to want to slap that straight on Ashcoat. We don't really have anything that specifically targets Ashcoat too well. So just giving them Shroud and Haste is good, so we don't want our opponents to deal with them. And then we have Scepter of Eternal Glory. Says we can 4 mana, legendary artifact, tap it, add a color, or tap it, add 3 mana of any one color, and we can only do it if we have 3 or more lands with the same name. Guess what? We're mono black. Those are swamps. We have 26 swamps, so it's going to work out. Skull Clamp kills a rat and we draw 2 cards. Soul Ring, it's Soul Ring, run Soul Ring, or you're an idiot. Vank Banner, 5 mana, rats get +1/+1, and then whenever we cast a rat, we draw a card. And then finally, artifacts, we have Whip of Erebos. I kind of like the idea of life gain because I know we can block with Ashcoat, but if we get unfavorable blocks with Ashcoat, then we don't if opponents attacking us with a 10/10 and we have a million rats, maybe you know what I mean. If we have 10 rats or whatever, right? We don't want to lose Ashcoat to that, but we also don't want to just take 10. So just by gaining life, whenever we can be able to take these big hits for opportunities where we're not able to do a big block. And then we also have it's big effect, pay 4 mana, tap it, return a creature from a graveyard, gates haste, that nonsense, exile at the end step, only do it when you cast a sorcery, but it's there for the lifelink. Let's go to enchantments. Bad Moon, black creatures get +1/+1, we're mono black. Dictate of Erebos and Grave Pact are the same exact thing. Whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent sacrifices a creature. It's basically incentive for our opponents to not block our creatures or swing into us, because if we kill our rats, which we will with Skull Clamp and Ayara and a ton of other random whatever, they also lose their stuff, and since we're kind of a token deck, we can make our guys back a lot faster than they can make theirs back. Haunted One, kind of funny. I don't really put backgrounds in my deck, but it says, and since we need Ashcoat on the field anyway, Ashcoat basically has, when this creature becomes tapped, and other creatures that share a type with it get +2/+0 and Undying until end of turn. So it's kind of funny because it's basically when you attack with Ashcoat, he gets +2/+0, and then all of your other rats get +2/+0. And then if someone wants to block and kill Ashcoat for whatever, he'll have Undying and it'll just come back with a 1/1 counter, and then all of your other guys will die and then come back with a 1/1 counter. So I think it's cool. I just think it's cool. So we can swing in and not have to worry about repercussions. Phyrexian Arena, 3 mana, basically lets us draw an extra card on our turn and lose a life, no big deal. And then for Phyrexian Reclamation, I like because since we're milling 4 cards every single turn, not every turn, but like on our turns, we're gonna like mill cards that we want to get back, aren't necessarily rats. So, you know, it just gets them back for us. Let's go to, did I miss? I missed one. Last enchantment. Yep, last enchantment, Revel in Riches. 5 mana, whenever a creature in our battle control dies, we make a treasure. If we have 10 treasures, we win the game. We're not really going to win with treasure. This is just kind of one of those mono black value cards I was talking about earlier. That it's kind of like, it's like just a scary card to see, right? Or you're just like, I don't want to like play Aristocrats or my Reanimator or Sacrifice deck or whatever, because like, not only will we just ramp a lot, but we could just like win the game. So it's plus I also like adding like a you win the game effect or someone loses the game effect in all my decks. So this is this one. Let's go to lands. Bog just gets rid of a graveyard. Cabal Coffers and Cabal Stronghold. You know, for all intents and purposes of this deck, we have no non-basic swamps, so we just pay the mana and tap it. We get a black for each swamp we control. So ideally, we can just get like pay like 2 mana and then like get like 5 mana out of it for each of them. Command Beacon, it's in the deck because since we need Ashcoat to be in play, or at least like we need Ashcoat around. If his command tax gets too much, we can just put it back on our hand for like a one-time like pay 4 mana. Again, he's cheap. Nykthos, we're mono black. We choose a color, it's black, we just get a ton of it equal to our devotion. So again, it's basically like Cabal Coffers except for mana pip. Path of Ancestry, it sucks that it enters tapped, but whenever we cast a rat, we just scry one, which is nice. And then finally, Swarmyard, regenerate target rat. That's all you gotta read on that card, because it's just like, if he does die or whatever reason, all regenerate really means, I know it says the next time it would be destroyed, instead tap it, remove it from combat, and heal all damage. For all intents and purposes, it's just tap it, gains indestructible. It's just easy if it's confusing. And then War Room essentially says, pay 3 mana, tap it, pay 1 life, draw a card. We're running 26 swamps. I think that brings our total of lands up to like 34, 35 off the top of my head, which is fine for the deck. The deck is about $443, but you can cut like the expensive cards like Cabal Coffers and Nykthos and like all of those other stuff, and it'll be like much cheaper. And the average CMC is 3.4, so I think the lands will be fine with that for what we have. And that's it. This is the actual. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and comment what you want to do next. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.